Hey guys, it's Christina and Selena reporting from two parts of the world.
And I know what you're thinking. They've worn that outfit before. It doesn't count as a matching outfit. Well, this is a sequel. So
Part
this is part
two.
two of shit, what was our title?
Yeah, I'm holding up the book. Don't worry. Got you. I got you.
Of this book or this one. I don't know which side she's on.
Of
Um
101 things
and
we learned in architecture school. Clearly, she didn't learn anything in architecture school.
after 8.5 years, nope, not a thing. Anyways, so if you didn't know that, if you didn't watch part one, subscribe because you're missing out.
Also, just to clarify, again, we are not sponsored by Matthew Frederick to talk about this. I just think that, he highlights some pretty good points about what we learned in architecture school. I was really looking for
Yeah, it's really
something that we could
relatable.
disagree on, but I haven't found anything yet. So I guess I did
Maybe
learn
that'll be a
101
video.
things. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Things we disagree with.
So in our last video, I briefly kind of totally geeked out on some on some fire code stuff and some um, making the end room smaller and stuff like that. So I hope that that was easy to understand, because if not, apparently I need to know my subject better. Although I know my subject completely well, I just might not have explained it well enough. Okay? So this next point is, if you can't explain your ideas to your grandmother in terms that she understands, you don't know your subject well enough. I knew it well. Just saying.
Actually, I have to say, I kind of disagree with this one, actually. Because there's
Really?
been times that I've explained things to my parents over and over and over, and they just, don't understand what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, one of the things that I keep getting, compliments for is, that I'm a really good presenter.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you should definitely talk about your stuff to somebody else that maybe not in architecture, just because if you're not able to at least get halfway there,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you can't express yourself in terms that are not architectural, then you're not really grasping what you're doing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right. And if you're presenting, your drawings should speak for itself, to a certain point.
Mm.
Like, if you
Yeah.
weren't there, people shouldn't have to be looking at your boards or your prints and being like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, things should at least be clear. Um,
Yeah.
so
Actually,
that's why diagrams are important.
yeah.
What were you saying?
Something something I learned in my very last semester of those 8.5 years, which I guess I kind of knew it, but it was made really clear to me, was um your images are there, your plans are there. You don't have to explain your plans, but to make your project stand out and to make your project more interesting, you need to make a storyboard. So we actually cartoon drew a story. So my master thesis was about using upcycled textiles to make a roof of Notre Dame, which sounds crazy, but there's no time to explain it. um, but my story then was this article of clothing that was it was on the runway, and then, oh well, now it's sold and somebody's wearing it, and now it's secondhand, someone else is wearing it. That's the best case scenario, but at some point it ends up in the trash, and it's boo, super downgraded, and then it gets taken out of the trash and reused as something better. So it's that storyline of this one article of clothing, and then in the images I highlighted a crowd of people, and then this dress, and then the Notre Dame with everything quilted together, and that dress is still seen. Um, yeah, I guess I don't know how to explain it, but it just makes it more interesting because if you look at my drawings, you already know what happened.
I think
But
we'll
this is
insert a little thing right here of your project, so people have a visual.
and I didn't
Yeah.
end up using it for my final presentation,
Mhm.
but it helped me explain my project better. It was
Okay.
a process
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, they were trying to drill in our heads forever, storyboarding, and it was always the worst. We were always just well, I was always just why? Why? You know? Because I was so focused on the drawings itself, right? but the story does have a really big impact. Like, you could have like a crappy project, but if you tell it well and you sell it, like, that's what matters.
That's me.
Like, you just have to believe in it. You just have to believe in it.
Yeah.
If you believe in it, then they'll believe in it, you know?
I can sell anything. That's like one of my superpowers. Really good at bullshitting. Okay, so this next tip is to draw hierarchically.
Are you okay?
Hierarchically. English is my second language. Hop off my back.
Hierarchically? Oh, God. Okay.
See?
See? Draw hierarchically. Okay.
Wait, is English your second language?
Yeah. No, it's my first.
No. Oh, okay.
Kind of.
So you should know this then.
It was my second language, and then after I went to school for like one day in kindergarten, I don't know why I couldn't stop speaking English. Yeah.
Anyways,
Hierarchy.
So
hierarchy with the LLY, okay?
Hierarchically. Hierarchically.
Okay.
I think I said it. That didn't sound right, but it felt right. All right.
Hierarchy.
So this is definitely something that that like happens naturally, I think, like after a few years in architecture. So like the first thing you would do when you're planning a building, for instance, is you would draw the structural grid. Like, and that's like the first like hierarchy level, and then like from there you would like zoom in and detail like more and more. So like if it's not even like a structural grid, maybe it's like the sight lines, like the, you know, something that shapes your building, and then you would go in and like draw in like kind of, oh, this is like another one, like draw in layers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like when you're in a space, also having like different hierarchically of elements. Damn it! Now you made me not be able to say it. But you know, like one of the big elements could be like what we were saying earlier in our previous video with like a really long hallway or really like grand space, and like having like different elements to counter that. That could be like a bigger hierarchy moment, whereas like that's like the form of, so Selena was talking about the flooring and like the ceiling, right? But like you can also counter it with like structural elements or other parts of the building to counter it, right? So that would be like a big hierarchy moment, like a big scale moment, because it's the form. Whereas like the flooring or like the ceiling, so that could be like secondary, or even like, how do you say the third one?
Tertiary.
Tertiary.
I felt like that wasn't right either.
I almost said it in Spanish.
So what they're saying in the text basically is that like you shouldn't zoom into one area and finish designing that space. You should like zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, and like on different areas. So you're kind of like working across the sheet, and then, or like across the plan, and then you go back and do another layer.
Yeah. Working layers.
Okay. Let's do the next one.
Oh my God.
That went great.
So this one actually kind of goes hand in hand with the one we just talked about. But it's basically talking about a good building reveals different things about itself when viewed from different distances. And that's also like a scale and hierarchy thing, right? Like what I was saying before with like the form and the shape of the building, right? So that could be like a big moment. And then as you step closer, right, like you can start seeing like finer details, right? Like if you're, I don't know, if you're like really far away, like 2 blocks away, like you're, well, not 2 blocks. If you're a block away, like you're not going to be able to see like the flooring pattern, you know? But as you get closer, you might be able to see those finer details. And I mean, with modern buildings, things are more like simplistic. Although there could be like some nice like added like trim details and stuff like that. But I think that like in this image, it really talks about like the column detailing.
Classical architecture.
Of classical architecture. So that's what you would see from afar. like a perfect Greek temple. And as you get closer, you can see all the details that they've included and carved into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I kind of mentioned a little bit about this actually in the last video where like you can design something at a really large scale and it looks normal from far away, and then the closer you get, the more uncomfortable you get with the scale of the building. So that's another example. But
oh yeah,
like
because these
you have different feelings.
Yeah, these are
They're
definitely
really tall.
designed out of proportion to a human scale.
Yeah.
I love designing in section, by the way. Okay.
I feel like this was like one of those things that in architecture school they kept telling me to do and I kept not doing for like a long time. Because it's so hard to like think about like, well, it's easy when you're designing in 3D, like in a 3D program, but if you're really designing from plan and section, I had a hard time like moving back and forth between those two for some reason. So that's why I kind of moved into like only designing in three-dimensional programs, because then I could think about both at the same time. If I'm drawing a floor plan, I have like actually a hard time thinking about the section, but it's super important. Like you have to. It really like you think about it, you don't see the floor plan when you're in the space. You you see the section.
Right. So I know that this concept talks about design in section, but he does have another page that talks about design in perspective. And I do feel like I design more in like a perspective form, which it's similar to Selena where it's like a three-dimensional thing, but like I will, like I forget where it was, but somebody was just like, oh, do a sketch of like of, or like even when we do like vignettes, right? So like they want, vignettes is like a little sketch of like, let's say your concept or your idea or like how you want something to look, and like people might show up with like floor plans or elevations or sections, and I think I had showed up with like a perspective, and people thought it was very interesting that I did that because that means I'm constantly thinking in like 3D, which also goes back to another point in this book. The book was backwards. Was he was talking about designing with like models, like physical models. Like if 3D programs aren't like available or an option, literally some paper, cardboard, like some scraps, cut it up, could really help you visualize certain spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another thing I never liked to do is designing physical models.
You just don't like doing anything.
I'm an impatient person, so for me, like, if I designed in a 3D program, like, I could be like, oh, this needs to be, like, 1 meter taller or, like, 2 meters taller for it to feel right proportionally. But doing it as, like, a physical model and you just want to make it taller, it's like, no, you can't really make it taller. It's already cut. You have to
just
start over. I actually enjoy building models. I just don't like designing in models.
So the last one we have for you guys today is really, 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 really important, and we've highlighted it a little bit on our What Do Architects Do video, which we'll insert right here somewhere. And it's basically that everybody thinks the architect's responsible for everything and to know everything, but let me tell you, an architect knows something about everything. An engineer knows everything about one thing. So we just know a whole bunch of facts about everything. Okay? We're not an expert in one particular thing. Just saying. So don't blame us when something goes wrong.
Yeah. That's like we talked about in our video, like we literally hire people that like if we feel like there's a big project, like architects can do interior design, for instance, but like if it's like a big project, a lot of times you would hire an interior designer because they're like know so much more about interior design. We just know like the basics, right? Same with landscape, like like more or less we know things about landscape, like watershed and stuff, but like if it's a bigger project, we're gonna hire someone that knows, like that studied 4 years of school in this, where we have studied like 1 semester.
Like we need specialists and consultants and stuff like that, so that things are actually like right and things could be done like more efficiently, than say like if an architect was to spend time on it, because it's not our expertise.
Yeah. And this is like really important to know if you're thinking about becoming an architect, is like I said in the other videos, like we get blamed a lot for things that go wrong, and it's like, well, aren't you supposed to know this? It's like, technically and by law, yes. But like how many things are you trying to like expect us to know about? Like
Right.
We still have to design the building. That's our main task.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so that's why like our contract documents are actually like super super important, because they really protect us. And we'll talk about that in a later video.
Well, we've mentioned a lot of videos in this video, so we'll link them below if you need help finding them. If also like something that helps to find our videos is for you to subscribe.
If you like these concepts and these tips, well, I didn't write them, but I agree. We agree with them. Drop a comment below for any questions, or if you want us to elaborate on anything that we talked about. If you want to see like Selena's project, then we'll get back to you, and we might make a video on it.
Let's discuss. All
right. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.